The skies above Earth were unusually quiet that morning, with only a few clouds drifting lazily across the horizon. It was an ordinary day for most people, but deep within the Pentagon, General Daniel Hayes stood in front of a large screen displaying something extraordinary. A massive spacecraft had entered Earth's orbit without warning. Its sleek metallic surface shimmered faintly under the sunlight, and its sheer size dwarfed even the largest human-made satellites. The ship didn't look like anything humanity had ever seen before. Daniel's jaw tightened as he studied the object on the screen. Beside him, Dr. Laura Bennett, one of the world's leading astrophysicists, leaned closer to examine the data streaming in from global observation stations. Her sharp eyes scanned the numbers and charts, her mind racing to piece together what this meant for humanity. She knew this moment would change everything. "It's not just passing by," she said finally, breaking the tense silence. "This thing is here for us." News of the mysterious spacecraft spread quickly around the globe. Governments scrambled to respond while civilians stared up at the sky, wondering if their lives would ever be the same again. Within hours, communication signals began emanating from the craft. At first, they were unintelligible bursts of static, but soon, a clear message emerged. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. Humanity must prepare to join our coalition or face isolation from galactic affairs." The announcement sent shockwaves through every corner of the planet. Some saw it as an opportunity to learn about advanced civilizations beyond Earth's borders. Others feared the worst, convinced these aliens couldn't possibly have good intentions. Amidst the chaos, Daniel and Laura were tasked with leading Earth's response. They worked tirelessly alongside teams of scientists, military strategists, and diplomats to decode the Council's language and understand their demands. Ambassador Cale Vorn, the alien representative, made contact shortly after the initial broadcast. His holographic projection appeared in meeting rooms across multiple continents, addressing leaders and citizens alike. He spoke calmly but carried an air of superiority that grated on many humans. "Your species has reached a critical point in its development," he explained. "Joining the Council will allow you access to knowledge and resources far beyond your current capabilities." But his tone shifted when discussing Earth's technology. "However, we find your advancements lacking compared to ours. Cooperation will require humility." Cale's words sparked outrage among some members of the United Nations Assembly. Many felt insulted by his dismissive attitude toward human achievements, yet others argued that diplomacy was the only way forward. Tensions flared during closed-door discussions, where arguments broke out over how best to handle the situation. While politicians debated, Daniel quietly gathered intelligence from classified sources. He knew better than anyone that Earth wasn't entirely defenseless. Years earlier, fragments of extraterrestrial technology had been recovered from crashed UFOs found in remote locations around the world. These artifacts had been carefully studied and reverse-engineered by top-secret programs operating under strict confidentiality. One such program, codenamed Project Titan, had yielded groundbreaking results. Plasma-based weapons capable of cutting through steel like butter, stealth systems rendering vehicles invisible to radar, and energy shields strong enough to withstand direct hits. All these innovations existed, hidden away in underground bunkers guarded by elite soldiers sworn to secrecy. As negotiations dragged on, Daniel received updates from Lieutenant Ryan Carter, stationed at a secure facility buried beneath the icy wilderness of Alaska. Ryan oversaw testing operations for Project Titan's latest prototypes. In encrypted messages, he assured Daniel that Earth's arsenal was ready if needed. However, both men agreed it was too early to reveal their hand. For now, they would play along with the Council's demands while preparing for any eventuality. Meanwhile, civilian advisor Emily Dawson grew increasingly uneasy about the Council's true motives. A former journalist turned policy analyst, Emily had a knack for spotting inconsistencies in official statements. She noticed subtle hints in Cale's speeches suggesting the Council might exploit weaker civilizations for resources rather than genuinely helping them advance. Sharing her suspicions with Laura, she urged caution. Together, they pored over intercepted transmissions and analyzed patterns in the Council's behavior. What they discovered chilled them to the bone. "The Council isn't just offering partnership," Emily whispered late one night as she and Laura reviewed documents in a dimly lit conference room. "They're planning to take whatever they want from us." whether we agree or not." Laura nodded grimly, realizing the stakes were higher than anyone had anticipated. If the Council viewed Earth as nothing more than a resource-rich target, humanity's survival depended on proving otherwise. Determined to test the Council's resolve, Daniel devised a plan. Under the guise of demonstrating Earth's technological progress, he arranged for a series of unmanned drones to perform aerial maneuvers near the alien ship. Equipped with experimental propulsion systems and cloaking devices, the drones moved silently and swiftly, executing complex patterns designed to showcase precision and agility. To everyone's astonishment, and Kale's visible discomfort, the drones outperformed the Council's defenses effortlessly. For a brief moment, the ambassador's composure faltered. His holographic form flickered slightly as he processed what he had just witnessed. Though he quickly regained his poise, the damage was done. Earth had proven it wasn't as helpless as the Council assumed. Back in the command center, Daniel allowed himself a small smile. The game had changed, and humanity was no longer playing from a position of weakness. Despite this minor victory, the situation remained precarious. The Council still held overwhelming firepower and centuries of experience navigating interstellar politics. Yet for the first time, there was hope. Hope fueled by ingenuity, determination, and the unshakable belief that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with even the greatest powers in the galaxy. As Daniel stared at the image of the alien ship hovering silently above Earth, he knew the real challenge lay ahead. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it together. The tension in the air was thick as General Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of Earth's command center, his eyes fixed on the massive alien ship still hovering ominously in orbit. The Council's ambassador, Kale Vorn, had retreated temporarily, after witnessing Earth's unexpected display of advanced drone technology. Though the drones had only been a small taste of what humanity could achieve, their performance had clearly rattled the aliens. For the first time, there was a crack. In the Council's facade of superiority, Daniel knew this moment of advantage wouldn't last long. He turned to Lieutenant Ryan Carter, who had just arrived from Alaska with updates on Project Titan. Ryan carried a tablet filled with data about the latest advancements in plasma weaponry and cloaking systems. His face was pale from exhaustion, but determined. "Sir, we've pushed the prototypes further than ever before," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "If we need to act, we're ready." Daniel nodded, absorbing the information. He trusted Ryan completely, knowing the lieutenant had spent years perfecting these technologies under extreme secrecy. But even with such powerful tools at their disposal, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a razor-thin line. The Council might underestimate Earth for now, but it wouldn't take much for them to shift gears and unleash their full military might. Humanity had to tread carefully. Meanwhile, Dr. Laura Bennett and Emily Dawson worked tirelessly to uncover more about the Council's true intentions. They spent hours poring over intercepted communications, analyzing patterns, and piecing together clues hidden within Kale's diplomatic speeches. What they found painted a chilling picture. The Council wasn't interested in partnership or mutual growth. It operated like a predator, targeting weaker civilizations and exploiting them for resources. Once a planet was drained of its value, it was often abandoned, left to decay. Laura shared her findings with Daniel during a private meeting. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed a folder on the table between them. "This isn't just about joining their coalition," she said, her voice low but urgent. "They see us as nothing more than a resource to be harvested. If we don't prove ourselves capable of fighting back, they'll take everything we have." Daniel's expression hardened. He already suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made the reality sink in deeper. Emily joined the conversation, her sharp mind working overtime to anticipate the Council's next move. "We can't let them think we're weak," she insisted. "Every second we spend negotiating gives them more time to plan something bigger. We need to show them we're not afraid to push back." Daniel agreed, though he knew any aggressive action would come with risks. Still, the idea began forming in his mind, a bold demonstration of Earth's strength that would leave no room for doubt. Back at the Alaskan facility, Ryan oversaw final preparations for what would become known as Operation Shadow Strike. The HFY plan involved deploying a small fleet of unmanned drones equipped with Earth's most advanced technology directly into the Council's territory. These drones weren't meant to destroy, but to provoke, to force the Council into revealing their true capabilities. Ryan knew the operation carried enormous risk, but he also understood its necessity. Humanity needed answers, and sometimes the only way to get them was to rattle the cage. As the days passed, negotiations aboard the alien vessel grew increasingly tense. Ambassador Kyle maintained his calm demeanor, though subtle cracks were beginning to show. His holographic projection flickered occasionally, betraying frustration beneath his polished exterior. When asked about Earth's recent technological displays, he dismissed them as mere tricks, insisting the Council's dominance remained unchallenged. Yet his words lacked conviction, and his gaze lingered longer than usual on Daniel whenever the general spoke. Daniel decided it was time to escalate matters. Under the pretense of a routine demonstration, he ordered Ryan to deploy the drones near the Council's flagship. The operation unfolded smoothly at first. Cloaked in invisibility fields, the drones darted around the alien ship, performing maneuvers designed to test the Council's defenses. To everyone's astonishment, the drones slipped past the Council's shields with ease, their movements precise and calculated. Kale's reaction was immediate and telling. His hologram flickered violently as alarms blared throughout the alien vessel. For a brief moment, panic flashed across his face before he regained control. Turning to Daniel, he demanded an explanation. "What is the meaning of this?" he snapped, his voice laced with anger. "You dare challenge the Council?" Daniel didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned forward, his tone calm yet firm. "We're simply demonstrating our potential," he replied. "Perhaps you underestimated us. Perhaps you assumed we were helpless. Let this serve as a reminder that humanity won't be taken lightly." Kyle stared at him, his expression unreadable, but Daniel could see the wheels turning in the ambassador's mind. The Council had miscalculated, and they knew it. News of the successful operation spread quickly among Earth's leaders, sparking both relief and renewed determination. President James Monroe addressed the United Nations, praising Daniel, Laura, and their teams for their bravery and ingenuity. "Today, we stand united," he declared. "We will not bow to threats or intimidation. Humanity has proven itself capable of defending our home, and we will continue to do so." Despite the victory, tensions remained high. The Council hadn't retaliated immediately, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before they regrouped and struck back. In the meantime, Daniel and his team worked around the clock to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. They reviewed every piece of intelligence, refined their strategies, and ensured every soldier, scientist, and civilian advisor was ready for whatever came next. Laura and Emily continued their research, uncovering even more disturbing details about the Council's history. They learned of civilizations that had resisted the Council's demands, only to be annihilated without mercy. Others had complied, only to be stripped of their resources and left to struggle in poverty. The stories served as grim reminders of what was at stake. Humanity couldn't afford to falter now. As the hours ticked by, Daniel found himself reflecting on the enormity of the task ahead. He thought about the men and women who had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth, about the sacrifices they had made and the ones yet to come. He thought about Laura and Emily, whose brilliance had given humanity a fighting chance, and about Ryan, whose unwavering loyalty inspired those around him. Most of all, he thought about the billions of people counting on him to make the right decisions. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders, but Daniel refused to buckle under it. He reminded himself why he had chosen this path, to ensure that humanity would never again be seen as powerless or insignificant. As he gazed out at the stars twinkling faintly in the night sky, he felt a surge of resolve. Whatever happened, next, humanity would face it head-on, united and unyielding. End of Part 2. The Council's response came sooner than anyone expected. Ambassador Cale Vorn appeared once again, his holographic form flickering into existence in the middle of Earth's command center. His usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by a cold fury that sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. "Your actions have crossed a line," he said, his voice sharp and cutting. "You have demonstrated hostility, and for that, there will be consequences. Daniel Hayes stood firm, meeting Cale's gaze without flinching. He had anticipated this moment and prepared himself for the worst. "We have done nothing but defend ourselves," Daniel replied, his tone steady. "If your council sees our strength as a threat, then perhaps you should reconsider your approach." Cale's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, the room fell silent. The tension was palpable, thick enough to choke on. Cale didn't waste time with further debate. Instead, he delivered an ultimatum. "Surrender all advanced technology to the Council immediately, or face annihilation," he declared. His words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and ominous. The Council's arrogance was evident in every syllable, their belief in their own superiority unwavering. They assumed humanity would crumble under the weight of their demands, just as countless other civilizations had before. As soon as Cale's projection vanished, chaos erupted in the command center. Voices rose in panic and anger, each person struggling to process what had just happened. Some argued that compliance was the only way to avoid destruction, while others insisted on standing firm. President James Monroe called an emergency meeting with world leaders, seeking consensus on how to proceed. The decision would shape the future of humanity, and the pressure was immense. Daniel knew there was no room for hesitation. He gathered his team, Laura Bennett, Emily Dawson, and Lieutenant Ryan Carter, in a secure briefing room. Together, they reviewed their options. Surrendering Earth's technology meant handing over not just Project Titan, but also decades of scientific progress. It would leave humanity vulnerable, stripped of its ability to protect itself. On the other hand, defying the Council risked unleashing their full military might, which could devastate the planet. "We can't give them what they want," Laura said firmly, breaking the tense silence. "If we do, they'll take everything else too. This isn't about negotiation. It's about survival." Emily nodded in agreement, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "They've already made up their minds," she added. "They see us as weak, even after everything we've shown them. If we back down now, they'll never respect us." Ryan leaned forward, his expression grim but resolute. "We have the tools to fight back," he said. "Project Titan wasn't built just to sit in a bunker. It's time to use it." Daniel listened carefully, weighing their words. He knew the risks involved, but deep down he agreed with them. Humanity couldn't afford to show weakness now. If they wanted to survive, they had to strike first and strike hard. Daniel proposed a bold plan. Using Earth's cloaked ships and plasma weaponry, they would launch a preemptive strike against the Council's flagship. The goal wasn't to destroy it completely, but to cripple its defenses and send a clear message. Earth was not to be underestimated. The operation would require precision, timing, and absolute secrecy. If successful, it could buy humanity valuable time to prepare for a larger conflict. The idea was met with mixed reactions. Some members of the team worried about the potential fallout, while others saw it as their only chance. Ultimately, Daniel's leadership carried the day. With President Monroe's reluctant approval, preparations for the strike began immediately. Ryan returned to Alaska to oversee the final stages of deployment, ensuring every ship and weapon was ready for action. Laura and Emily worked tirelessly to refine targeting algorithms and analyze the Council's likely countermeasures. As the hours passed, the gravity of the situation settled over everyone involved. Soldiers suited up in silence, their faces etched with determination. Engineers double-checked systems, leaving nothing to chance. In the command center, Daniel paced, back and forth, his mind racing through every possible scenario. He knew the odds were stacked against them, but he also knew they had no choice. Failure wasn't an option. The night before the operation, Daniel found himself alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The alien ship loomed large in the distance, a dark shadow against the endless expanse of space. He thought about the billions of people counting on him, the lives that depended on his decisions. For a brief moment, doubt crept into his mind. What if they weren't strong enough? What if the Council's power was truly insurmountable? But then he remembered the faces of his team, their courage, their resilience, their unwavering belief in humanity's potential. He thought about Laura's brilliance, Emily's insight, and Ryan's dedication. He thought about the countless men and women who had worked tirelessly to build the weapons and defenses Earth now possessed. They had come too far to turn back. Now, when the appointed hour arrived, the tension in the command center was unbearable. Daniel gave the order, his voice calm but firm. Execute Operation Shadow Strike. Cloaked ships launched from hidden bases around the globe, their engines silent as they approached the Council's flagship. Plasma cannons charged, targeting key points on the alien vessel. For a few heart-stopping moments, everything seemed to hang in the balance. Then, the attack began. Bright bursts of energy tore through the darkness, striking the Council's shields with devastating force. The aliens scrambled to respond, their weapons firing wildly in an attempt to locate the invisible attackers. But Earth's ships moved with unmatched speed and precision, slipping through gaps in the Council's defenses and delivering blow after blow. The flagship shuddered under the assault, its once impenetrable armor beginning to crack. On board the alien vessel, Cale Vorn watched in disbelief as reports flooded in from his crew. His confidence wavered, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Never in his long career had he encountered such resistance from a supposedly primitive species. He ordered his forces to retaliate, but their efforts were clumsy and disorganized. Earth's cloaking technology rendered their ships nearly impossible to track, and their plasma weapons outclassed anything the Council had brought to the fight. Back on Earth, the command center erupted in cheers as the first wave of the attack succeeded beyond expectations. Daniel allowed himself a small smile, though he knew the battle was far from over. The Council still held overwhelming firepower, and their pride wouldn't let them retreat easily. But for now, humanity had proven it could stand up to even the greatest powers in the galaxy. As the operation unfolded, Laura and Emily monitored the Council's communications, searching for any sign of surrender or withdrawal. Instead, they discovered something far more troubling. Hidden within encrypted messages was evidence of the Council's true plan, a full-scale invasion of Earth, scheduled to begin within days. The ultimatum had been nothing more than a distraction, a way to lull humanity into complacency while the Council prepared for war. The revelation sent shockwaves through the team. They had gambled everything on the hope that a show of strength would deter the Council, but now it seemed their actions had only delayed the inevitable. Daniel called an emergency meeting to share the news. "This changes nothing," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "We knew the Council wouldn't back down easily. Now we know exactly what we're fighting for." With renewed determination, the team pressed on. They adjusted their strategies, focusing on maximizing the damage to the Council's forces, while minimizing casualties on Earth's side. Every second counted, and they couldn't afford to make mistakes. As the battle raged on, humanity's resolve grew stronger. They had faced impossible odds before, and they would do so again, in the end. It wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about proving to the universe and to themselves that Earth was more than just a speck of dust in the vastness of space. It was a home worth defending, a civilization capable of greatness, and no matter what happened next, humanity would rise to meet the challenge. End of Part 3. The battle raged on with an intensity that left no room for hesitation. Earth's cloaked ships darted through the void of space, their plasma cannons firing relentless salvos at the Council's flagship. The alien vessel, once a symbol of invincibility, now groaned under the strain of repeated hits. Its shields flickered and faltered, exposing vulnerable sections of its hull to Earth's relentless assault. On board the flagship, chaos reigned as Cale Vorn struggled to maintain control over his forces. Despite the initial success of Operation Shadow Strike, Daniel Hayes knew the fight was far from over. The Council still held a significant advantage in numbers and firepower. Their fleet, though momentarily caught off guard, began regrouping and launching counterattacks. Bright beams of energy streaked across the darkness, forcing Earth's ships to maneuver evasively. The command center buzzed with activity as operators relayed updates and coordinated movements, their voices tense but focused. Lieutenant Ryan Carter led the charge from Alaska, overseeing the deployment of additional drones and smaller vessels. Equipped with experimental weapons, his team worked tirelessly, ensuring every asset was used to its fullest potential. Ryan's hands moved swiftly over the controls, his mind calculating trajectories and timing strikes with precision. He knew this was humanity's moment to prove itself, and he refused to let doubt creep into his thoughts. "Hold the line," he muttered under his breath, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Back at the command center, Laura Bennett and Emily Dawson monitored the situation closely. They analyzed data streams from the battlefield, searching for patterns in the Council's tactics. Laura's sharp eyes caught something crucial, a flaw in the Council's defensive grid. "They're focusing too much on our larger ships," she said, pointing at the screen. "If we send smaller units to target their weak points, we can break through." Emily nodded, quickly relaying the information to Daniel. Daniel wasted no time. He issued new orders, redirecting a squadron of drones to exploit the vulnerability Laura had identified. The drones moved silently, slipping past the Council's haphazard defenses and delivering crippling blows to critical systems aboard the flagship. Explosions erupted across the alien vessel's surface, sending shards of metal spinning into space. Kyle's holographic form flickered erratically as alarms blared throughout the ship. For the first time, genuine fear showed in his expression. But the Council wasn't ready to concede defeat. With a surge of desperation, they unleashed their full arsenal, raining destruction down on Earth's forces. Plasma bolts and energy beams crisscrossed the battlefield, lighting up the darkness like a deadly fireworks display. Several of Earth's ships were hit, their cloaking fields failing as they spiraled out of control. Casualties mounted, and the mood in the command center grew grim. Yet even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity's resolve remained unshaken. Laura and Emily worked feverishly to adapt to the changing dynamics of the battle. They recalibrated targeting algorithms and adjusted flight paths to minimize losses. Every decision mattered. Every second counted. "We can't afford to lose momentum," Emily said, her voice tight with urgency. "If we fall back now, they'll crush us," Laura agreed, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she input new coordinates for the remaining ships. Amidst the chaos, Daniel made a bold decision. He ordered a risky maneuver. A concentrated assault on the Council's command hub, located deep within the flagship. If they could disable it, the Council's ability to coordinate their forces would collapse. Ryan volunteered to lead the mission, knowing the dangers involved. "I'll take my best pilots," he said, his tone resolute. "We'll get it done." The assault team launched immediately, their ships weaving through a storm of enemy fire. Ryan's leadership shone brightly as he guided his squadron through narrow gaps and avoided deadly traps. The tension inside each cockpit was palpable, but none of the pilots wavered. They trusted Ryan implicitly, following his commands without question. As they approached the command hub, Ryan gave the order to unleash everything they had. Plasma cannons roared to life, unleashing a torrent of energy that tore through the flagship's defenses. The impact was catastrophic. The command hub exploded in a brilliant burst of light, sending shockwaves rippling through the alien vessel. Systems failed, communications went dark, and the Council's fleet descended into disarray. Kale's holographic projection flickered one last time before vanishing entirely, leaving behind only silence. The flagship listed heavily, its once mighty presence reduced to a smoldering wreck. In the aftermath of the strike, the Council's forces began retreating. Their arrogance had blinded them to the possibility of resistance, and now they paid the price for underestimating humanity. One by one, their ships turned away from Earth's orbit, fleeing into the depths of space. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. Many lives had been lost, and several of Earth's most advanced ships were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted across the globe. People poured into the streets, waving flags and cheering for the heroes who had saved their planet. President James Monroe addressed the world, praising Daniel, Laura, Emily, and everyone involved in the operation. "Today, we stand united as never before," he declared. "Humanity has proven its strength, its ingenuity, and its determination to protect our home." Yet amid the jubilation, Daniel felt a profound sense of responsibility weighing on his shoulders. He knew the Council's retreat was temporary at best. They had been humiliated, and pride like theirs didn't forgive easily. This victory was only the beginning of a much larger struggle. Still, for now, there was reason to hope. Humanity had stood toe-to-toe with one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations and emerged victorious. Later that evening, Daniel found himself alone, in the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The scars of battle were visible in the wreckage drifting through space, a stark reminder of what had been sacrificed. But beyond the debris lay endless possibilities, new alliances to forge, technologies to develop, and frontiers to explore. Earth's place in the universe had changed forever, and Daniel knew the road ahead would be challenging. Laura joined him after a while, her presence a quiet comfort. "We did it," she said softly, her voice tinged with awe. "Against all odds, we did it." Daniel nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "For now," he replied, "but this isn't the end. It's just the start of something bigger." Laura understood what he meant. The Council's defeat had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer a passive observer. It was a force to be reckoned with. As they stood together, watching, the stars shimmer in the distance, a sense of purpose settled over them. The battle may have been won, but the war for Earth's future was just beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them with courage, unity, and an unshakable belief in its potential. For the first time in history, Earth truly belonged to the stars. End of Part 4. The days following the battle were filled with both celebration and reflection. Across the globe, people gathered in streets and squares, their faces lit with pride and relief. Humanity had faced an unimaginable threat and emerged victorious, proving that Earth was no longer a powerless speck in the vastness of space. Yet for those who had led the fight, the victory felt bittersweet. General Daniel Hayes stood on the balcony of the command center, watching the sun rise over a world forever changed. The scars of battle lingered, not just in the wreckage drifting through space, but in the hearts of those who had fought. President James Monroe addressed the United Nations once again, his voice steady as he outlined humanity's next steps. "We have shown the galaxy that we are united," he said. "But this is not the end of our journey. It is only the beginning." His words resonated deeply with everyone present. The Council's retreat had bought Earth time, but no one doubted they would return. The question now was how humanity would prepare for the future. Daniel knew the answer lay in continuing to innovate and strengthen Earth's defenses. He met with Laura Bennett and Emily Dawson to discuss the lessons learned from the battle. Together they reviewed every detail, analyzing what had worked and what could be improved. Laura's research revealed critical insights into the Council's technology, offering new avenues for advancement. "We pushed them back this time," she said, her tone serious. "But we need to stay ahead if we want to survive the next encounter." Emily focused on the political implications of the victory. She studied intercepted communications from the Council, piecing together their likely response to their defeat. What she discovered was troubling. The Council viewed Earth's resistance as an act of rebellion, something to be crushed without mercy. Yet there was also evidence of dissent within their ranks. Some civilizations under the Council's rule saw Earth's victory as inspiration, fueling whispers of rebellion among oppressed species. Emily shared her findings with Daniel, emphasizing the importance of building alliances. "We're not alone anymore," she said. "If we reach out to others, we can create a network of support." With this in mind, Daniel proposed a bold initiative, establishing a galactic outreach program. The goal was simple: to connect with other civilizations and offer Earth as an example of resistance against tyranny. Laura and Emily immediately threw their support behind the idea, recognizing its potential to shift the balance of power in the galaxy. They worked tirelessly to develop communication protocols and identify friendly species willing to collaborate. For the first time, humanity wasn't just defending itself. It was taking an active role in shaping the future of the universe. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Ryan Carter oversaw efforts to rebuild and expand Earth's fleet. The battle had taken a toll on their resources, but the determination of engineers and soldiers ensured progress continued at a rapid pace. New ships rolled off assembly lines, each equipped with upgraded versions of Project Titan's technology. Ryan pushed his team to think beyond conventional designs, encouraging creativity and innovation. "We've proven we can win," he told them. "Now let's make sure we never lose." As weeks turned into months, Earth began to transform. The unity forged during the crisis remained strong, driving global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Nations set aside old rivalries to focus on a common goal, ensuring humanity's survival and prosperity. Scientists collaborated across borders, sharing knowledge and resources to accelerate technological development. Artists and writers captured the spirit of the times, creating works that celebrated courage and resilience. For the first time in history, humanity truly felt like one people. The Council's absence was both a blessing and a warning. Their silence suggested they were regrouping, planning their next move. But it also gave Earth time to grow stronger, to build alliances, and to prepare for whatever came next. Daniel often found himself thinking about Cale Vorn, wondering how the ambassador had explained the defeat to his superiors. He imagined anger and disbelief, perhaps even fear. The Council had always seen themselves as untouchable, but Earth had shattered that illusion. One evening, Daniel joined Laura and Emily in the observation deck. The three of them stood side by side, gazing at the stars. "Do you think they'll come back?" Laura asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Yes," he replied. "But when they do, we'll be ready." Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the distant glow of distant suns. "And maybe next time, we won't be fighting alone." Their conversation turned to the possibilities ahead. Earth's victory had sparked something greater than anyone had anticipated. Civilizations once oppressed by the Council reached out cautiously, seeking guidance and support. Some sent envoys to negotiate alliances, while others simply expressed gratitude for the hope Earth had given them. Laura and Emily worked tirelessly to establish diplomatic relations, laying the groundwork for a coalition of free species united against tyranny. For Daniel, these developments reinforced his belief in humanity's potential. He had always known Earth was capable of greatness, but seeing it realized on such a grand scale filled him with pride. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with challenges and sacrifices. Yet he also knew humanity had proven it could rise to meet any obstacle. Together, they had stared down the greatest threat in their history and refused to back down. As the months passed, Earth's place in the galaxy solidified. No longer dismissed as primitive or insignificant, humanity earned respect through strength and ingenuity. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to the possibility of resistance, but Earth had shown that even the smallest spark could ignite a firestorm of change. Other civilizations began to see Earth not as a target, but as a beacon, a symbol of courage and defiance. Laura often reflected on how far they had come. From deciphering alien signals to standing shoulder to shoulder with generals and presidents, her journey had been extraordinary. She thought about the countless hours spent poring over data, the sleepless nights spent searching for answers. It had all been worth it. "We've rewritten the rules," she said one day, smiling at Daniel. "No one will underestimate us again." Emily shared her optimism, though she remained vigilant. Her work uncovering the Council's secrets had taught her the value of preparation. "We've made enemies," she reminded them. "Powerful ones, but we've also made allies. That's what will keep us safe." Daniel agreed, knowing the balance between strength and diplomacy would define humanity's path forward. In the end, the story of Earth's rise wasn't just about war or technology. It was about unity, the coming together of billions of individuals to protect their home and shape their destiny. It was about proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could find a way to triumph. And it was about looking to the stars not with fear, but with hope. As Daniel stood on the balcony one final time, watching the horizon glow with the promise of a new dawn, he felt a deep sense of peace. The battle had changed everything, but it had also revealed humanity's true potential. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and its people were no longer afraid. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united by a shared vision of a brighter future. End of 1. Part 5.